Julie yields back, and I'll go to the gentleman from Ohio, Mr. Balderson, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you all. Congratulations to those that have joined FERC, and I look forward to working with you. I want to direct my first question to Commissioner Christie and Commissioner C. Last month, I held an energy roundtable event at a nearly 2,000 megawatt natural gas-fired plant in Guernsey County, Ohio, right in the middle of Ohio's 12th Congressional District. The roundtable featured local co-ops, utilities, independent power producers, manufacturing and business groups, and natural gas producers. The overwhelming message from the roundtable participants was that, one, our baseload generation is retiring too quickly, largely due to federal and state policies. Number two, power demand is rising at historic levels. And three, we need more natural gas transportation infrastructure. Commissioner C. and Christie, would you generally agree with this assessment? And ladies first, Mrs. C.
I do. I think these are very important issues. Certainly it is the states who have primary responsibility when it comes to generation, but I think when we're looking at reliability concerns, it's very important to look at all those pieces, stressors on the supply side and certainly increased demand. So I think those are very important issues.
Thank you. Commissioner Christie.
Congressman, in my opening statement, I made the point that last week when PJM peaked in the heat wave, 46% of the generation in PJM to meet that peak was gas. And the generating unit that you had your forum near, if it was a combined cycle plant running at baseload, meaning it's probably running at a capacity factor, so let's say 80% or more, the EPA power plant rule is going to essentially make it virtually impossible to build those types of plants.
Yes.
And we're going to desperately need them.
Thank you. The EPA, you brought it up, its most recent power plant regulations create mandates that all but ensure coal-fired power plants will shut down before 2032. Excuse me, it makes it virtually impossible to get new natural gas plants built and connected to the grid. At the same time, the EPA is actively pursuing a separate effort to further regulate our existing fleet of natural gas-fired power plants. We were already worried about the long-term reliability of the electric grid before the EPA's Clean Power Plan 2.0 on existing coal and new natural gas plants was finalized. As the federal regulator charged with electrical grid reliability, can you discuss what FERC's existing natural gas generation is being developed by the EPA? Commissioner C. and Commissioner Christie.
I think that relates to your first question. I think that these are serious concerns and taking seriously the consequences that regulations have on critical sources of generation matters. I applaud FERC's efforts last year for the technical conference to give a particularly important insight to EPA in developing that rule. I think it is important for FERC, as you say, as the agency charged with reliability, to be raising these concerns and voicing this important perspective as other agencies go about their work.
Thank you. Commissioner Christie.
Well, again, the EPA power plant rule is going to make it virtually impossible to build new combined cycle gas that runs the space load. So, but yet that is exactly what we're going to have because the same rule is going to force the retirement of virtually the rest of the entire coal fleet. So, if again you look at what PJM was doing last week to keep the lights on, 20% was coal. If you take 20% of the resource mix and just evaporate it, and then you don't allow the construction of new combined cycle gas, which the power plant rule essentially will not, the numbers don't add up. You simply, it's just, you're not going to be able to keep the lights on. I mean, that's just plain arithmetic.
Thank you. Can you briefly discuss what the impact would be on the reliability of the EPA? We're to finalize that rule, and I think you've already answered that. The other technology is mandating carbon capture and storage technology that would require plants capture and storage 90% of their emissions within a decade. Feasible, Commissioner C? And
I think there's certainly a lot of promise with that technology. I think one of the concerns that I would have sitting here today is how deployable is that technology right now and on the timeframes of the rule. Again, other agencies have their own statutory lane, but looking from a perspective of reliability and resource adequacy, I would have concerns, especially with those aggressive timeframes.
thank you. Did you want to add anything, Mr. Christie? Or
No, it's not feasible. Every expert in the field and engineers who talk about this say you cannot use the carbon capture technology is simply not there on the time frame that this rule requires, or a commercial feasibility.
I will address a couple of my other questions to you because I'm out of time, but my colleague from Florida talked about the queue, and I've been working with PJM about this queue issue, so look forward to working with all of you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.